Today we will continue with our lesson in Torah Ohr. We'll finish this first mimer, this beautiful, beautiful mimer about who is Moses and what Moses does, and how essential Moses is to the Jewish people and to the world. So we said that the main thing of Moses is to provide a feeling of God, a feeling of God to the Jewish people, and through them eventually to the angels, and then eventually to them, to the whole entire world, a feeling and an awareness of God. And this is because God is really creating everyone. God is creating the spiritual, God is creating the physical, God is creating us, God cares about us, and we don't feel it. And feeling this fact is the most unusual, and if you want to call it impossible thing in the world. That's our task. We're supposed to feel this fact that God is creating us. And even more impossible, we're supposed to act according to this fact all the time, to do what God wants, to say what God wants, to think what God wants. That's when we're really healthy and happy. Right? That's where everything else in the world works. An orchestra works best when everybody does what they're supposed to do. An army when it does what it's supposed to do. The body works best when every organ acts in the way that it's supposed to act. And also the same thing with morals and with how do you say, conscience, and what is supposed to drive us? What are our principles? What are we living for? Are we living for ourselves? Are we living just to have a calm life, good life, easy, or to have success in this world? Do we make up the goals, or does God make up the goals? Are the goals just grandiose goals, or are they just every single moment is a challenge? Every single moment. The purpose of life is every single moment that we're living, but to live it for the right goals, for the right purposes. And what's the right purposes? To do what the Creator wants. And yes, there's a Creator. There is a Creator. And the Creator is creating each one of us individually. To feel this is only Moses can make us do. That's called giving da'at. So it says Moses is able to draw down this feeling that the angels have. He's able to inspire people in this physical world. And we've said a lot of times before here, we see that just like 70, 80 years ago, there was one man stood up in Germany and he inspired a bloodbath. Just one man inspired 70 million people, how many people there were, to just go out and try to destroy and kill everybody that they could. One person. If one person can inspire so many people for bad, then it should be that one person can inspire everybody for good. Especially when this good is supposed to be the most obvious and positive thing in the world, that we're being created, and we're being created for a purpose, and that everyone is precious and important. So that's what Moses did. That's what Moses did when he took the Jews out of Egypt. When the Jews were in Egypt, they thought that they were slaves to Paro, to the world. And Moses took them out of this feeling. This is stuck here again, see? I insist on using this, thinking that it's going to be different each time. I think it's going to be different, and it's not different. See? Is there something I can do to rectify this? I don't know. All right, I'm going to have to go to the other page, I think. I don't know how to. There must be something I can do to fix this, but I don't think that there is. All right, I don't know why it doesn't go down. Okay, I'll have to change pages. Excuse me, please, one moment. 58. Here we go. Excuse me. There we go. Ti tikne eved ivri. That's the way it's supposed to be. Ti tikne eved ivri. Yes. When you purchase for yourself a Jewish servant, this was said by God to Moses. Moses, the Jewish people will be you. Moses, you have to make the Jewish people into Jewish servants. You have to make the Jewish people into Jewish servants. That's not exactly the language that he uses, though. It says, ki tikneh, when you purchase. How does Moses make the Jewish people into Jewish servants? It says, sometimes it says, Kone Shemayim V'Oretz. Sometimes it says that God possesses the heavens and the earth. Kone Hakol. Sometimes it says that God possesses everything. But sometimes it's written, Bore Shemayim V'Oretz, Bore Hakol. Sometimes it's written that God creates the heavens and the earth, and he creates everything. The explanation is like this. Ki, yesh bechinet shenikra derech seder hishtalshalut me'ila le'ala. Me'ila le'ila. When God created the world, so he created the world in a form, just like man is in a form. There's the head, and the head contains intellect, will, that's drawn down into the heart and starts emotions. Then that's drawn down into the nerves. The person moves, he could talk, thinks, speaks, says things, does things, walks, goes. So there's an order to the soul, how it works. Well, the same thing is in the world. Even though man is one person, when we say that someone did something, we say, Uncle Joe said something. We don't say Uncle Joe's mouth said something or Uncle Joe's words were like this. We say Uncle Joe spoke, he said. The same thing as God. When he created the world, he created the whole world. But he created the world in an order. Just like a person is created in an order. So it's all one, yes, but there's also an order. What's the order? The order is what's called Seder Hishtalshalut. It's called the order of the chain of creation. And from one level to the next. Right? Like in a person, from thought comes down into speech, from speech comes down. Then there's an aspect of God which is called above the whole creation. In other words, we can say it in a simple that there's the creation and there's the creator. And that's what it means, bore. Sometimes we say God creates everything, and sometimes we say God possesses everything. Perish bore, when we say that God creates everything, who is havos yesh mi'ayin, that God creates everything, something from nothing. This is above the whole order of creation. The order of creation. The order of creation is that there's a difference between spiritual and a difference between physical. And in the spiritual itself, there's all these different levels, higher and lower. And in the physical, there's different levels. There's man, there's the animal, there's plant, there's mineral. But one thing they all have in common is they're all being created by God. In other words, the existence of a mineral is no less of an existence, no less of a miracle. The fact that it exists is no less of a miracle than the existence of an angel. They all exist. They're all being created. So it says, on one hand, there's what's called the Seder Shtalshelus, the order of creation. There's the angels and different spiritual levels, comes down into this world. But then there's also what's called the Creator himself, that he creates everything at once. Because the creation has no comparison to the Creator. We don't even feel we're being created. It's so incomprehensible that God is creating us that we don't even feel it. And the fact is, he is creating us. He's creating us every minute. We don't even feel it. It's so incomprehensible. But the spiritual worlds, we can feel a little bit. That's called the order of the chain of creation. That we can feel. In Cain, so Hisabas and Nivra, and this which the world is created, this is Hishadras Yesh Me'ayin. This is something from nothing. That's what it means, Bore, that God creates everything. But afterwards, Yesh Gam came, but after God decided to create everything, so he creates everything in an order. That's what's called the chain of creation, the chain of the worlds. One spiritual level to a lower spiritual level to a lower spiritual level, and then it comes down to the physical, and there's higher spirit physical and lower physical. This is a way of cause and effect. That's what's called koneh. That's what's called that God possesses. When you possess something, that's everybody can do, right? You go to a store, you pay money, and you take possession of the lawnmower, whatever you buy, a car. You're not making anything new. When you purchase, when you acquire something, you possess something. What does it mean you possess it? Right? It means that it used to be in the showcase, it used to be by the seller, and you brought it home, a brand new car, brought it home. It's not brand new. The car is not brand new. The car used to belong to him, and now it belongs to me. That's called koneh. First of all, it was just a product that was in the store waiting to be sold. It's a lamocher by the seller. And when you buy it, when you purchase it, when you possess it, then it comes to just another domain. So there's one time that says God creates the world, and another time it says that God possesses the world. The effect from the cause. In the chain of creation of the world, it's not a new thing. Because to make something brand new from nothing is only in the ability of God. Right? Even the car before it was in the dealer's shop. So what was it? It was metal, right? It was made in a factory. It was made from what? From metal. And the metal, where did the metal come from? The metal came from the ground. Let's say that came by all sorts of chemical processes or whatever. But it didn't come from nothing. Everything came from something else. The metal came from the ground. From the car came from the metal. Right? All of these things were existence, but they just sort of took a different form, or they went into a different domain. But creating something from nothing, only God can do that, because we have no conception what it means nothing. What is nothing? Nothing doesn't mean a vacuum. A vacuum is a thing. It's a vacuum. Nothing means no time, no space, no being, no spirit, no consciousness, there's nothing. There's no way we can comprehend a thing like that. By definition, it's incomprehensible, right? There's no comprehension, nothing. What does it mean? So that's really the true existence of the world. The true existence of the world is this nothingness. That's, if you want to call it, pure godliness. And then God created time, space, consciousness. This is dealt with in very great detail in Kabbalah and especially explained in the works of Chassidut. Nevertheless, to take nothing, which we don't know what that means, and make something from it, only God can do. But to draw from a cause to a result, from one spiritual level to give birth to a lower spiritual level, this is revealed. This is just revealing what was concealed. Like a person says what's in his mind. And this, it says, and this, it says that God possesses everything. What does it mean he possesses everything? That God just brings things from one domain into another. To draw from what was concealed to be revealed. After it was all created from nothing to something. And then then we can say by God that he possesses. When he draws something from what was hidden to be revealed, like the car, right? The car was, first of all, it was in the seller's, in the store. It was in the dealership. And you went to the dealership, you bought it. Oh, the kids are happy. Look, a brand new car. This is really, it's not brand new. It was in the dealership. You could have gone there first, but now it belongs to us. That's also nice. But it's not the same thing as creating it from nothing. Al derech zeh, similarly, Yuv and Perush tikneh. Now we can understand what it means when our sentence says, when you possess. God is telling to Moses, you can possess a Jewish servant. In other words, make the Jewish people be servants of God by instilling in the Jewish people, arousing in them this feeling. That's what it means, ki tikneh, when you possess. What is possession? Possession means just one moment, lost the place. Alder said, now we can understand what it means, ki tikneh, what it means. The God is telling Moses, when you possess a Jewish servant, to take the Jewish people and move them into being servants of God. It doesn't mean making a new thing. It means you just have to reveal what was concealed inside of them. You have to kinyan, make a kinyan, just possess it, bring it from one place, from the concealment to be revealed. Hine kasiv, it says, what is concealed inside of the Jews? Hine kasiv, this is written, it says, on the other side of the river, your fathers lived. This is what we say in the beginning of the Haggadah of Pesach Haggadah. That's why Abraham was called Avraham HaIvri. On the other side of the river, the Ivri, your forefathers lived. Hanar, hu bechinas nahar yotzei me'Eden. This is a river that came out from Eden. That's what it says in the beginning of the Bible, right? There was a river that came out from Eden. This is before everything was okay. Kamosha Katuv, like it says, with the Zohar, and the Zohar, Parshas Emor. The book, the Zohar, is a Kabbalistic Jewish book. Shehu bechinas bina. What is this river that came out from Eden? Says the Rebbe, this is a level of creation that still is there now, above time. This is I'm sorry, I lost the place. Yes. It says that a river went out from Eden. A river went out from, what is this river that goes out from Eden? So usually it says Eden is talking about the essential chachma of God, pure godliness. And Eden is understanding it. This is the level of bina of Atzilut. We've talked about this before, that there are 4 different dimensions of reality. That's this chain of creation that the Rebbe was talking about before. The highest of them in the chain is what's called Atzilut. That's pure godliness. And this river that came out of Eden, the Eden, that's Chachma of Atzilus, the highest aspect. There's 10 Sfirot in each one of these dimensions. The highest of the 10 Sfirot is what's called Chachma, pure consciousness. And Bina is understanding. It's not pure anymore. It's grasping and articulating this pure consciousness. That's this level of Bria, Bina of Atzilut. And this Bina of Atzilut is drawn down into the next lowest level below it, the next lower dimension in this chain of creation, which is called Bria, Atzilut and Bria. That's what it means, that the river was drawn from Eden, and it came and was divided. The world of Bria is already dividing. That's all already says the world of souls. Remember, we talked about that yesterday. The Avranar, who Mashalam Bechinas Bina. And on the other side of the river, this is what's above understanding. Musag Sham. That's where the Jews come from. Avranar. Sham Yashvu V'Hushvashu Avo. That's where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob came from. That's what it says. On the other side of the river came your forefathers, the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They came from above understanding of God. They came above the understanding of God. That's what Judaism is. Judaism is a connection to God, which is totally above understanding. Right, but this is who had this, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They inherited it to every single Jew, but it's hidden. Rak Masha Yordul and Neshamas, but what came into the souls afterwards, this is what's called, remember going back to the beginning of the Mimer, Zera Behema. This is called the seed of animal. This is talking about 99%, all of the Jews except for the Mashiach, all of the Jews except for one person in every generation. That's called the seed of animals. What does it mean? That they're being created by God. Their source is above even the creation. The source of every Jewish soul comes from the Creator himself, and they don't feel it at all. They don't feel it. That's why they're called animals. They have no dot, no feeling of this truth. This is only the spark of godliness, which is drawn down into the body. On this, it can be said that it comes down into the world and it's concealed, and it becomes the part of the soul which we can identify with. Is called our personality, our Jewish personality. Right, the fact that we're Jews, the fact that we are Jews. Right, this is drawn down and is concealed, tremendously concealed in the world, to the point where you can have Jews that they are against God, they hate God, they hate religion, they hate. Right, there were communist Jews, famous Trotsky, a mass murderer. The person was, and he was a Jew. He said, "I'm a Jew. I'm an atheist Jew. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Torah, but I'm a Jew." What does it mean he was a Jew? He was a cultural Jew, for sure not. What type of a Jew was he? What type of a Jew? And there were thousands, tens of thousands of people like this in Russia, for sure. Communist Jews that they hated God, they hated the Torah, they hated the Jewish people. They killed Jews. That was their job. And nevertheless, they said they were Jews. It was their group was called Yevtsektia, the Jewish sector. They were not if they weren't my brothers, I would laugh also. If so, what is it? The spark of godliness, pure godliness, which that's what a Jew is. That's where the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's what they inherited to us, that made us Jews. This spark of godliness is inside of every Jew, but it's totally concealed. It's like up there in the world of Atzilut. If so, in order to draw down this feeling, that means feeling, this feeling of godliness into the souls, which are called the seed of animal. This whole thing comes from a prophecy of Isaiah, that God created the seed of man, the seed of animal. If so, to make these Jews feel their Judaism, it's not a new creation. It's not a new thing. to make a Jew like this, these communists, whatever, to make them Jewish, to feel that they're Jewish and serve the creator of the universe, it's not a new thing. It's not like you have to do a lobotomy on them or something. No, it's there inside. It's just kinyan. You have to draw it. That's what Moses did. He drew what already was there from concealment to be revealed. It's drawing from what was concealed to be revealed. To draw down from his source, which is what's called the other side of the river. Then in this level of the Jewish soul, they have pure awareness of the truth. It just becomes concealed. Then the spark of godliness, which comes down into the lower worlds, Bria Yetzirah Nasir. And therefore you have to draw from there and from what was concealed to be revealed. And that's what God is telling to Moses, Ki tikne eved ivri, when you possess a Jewish servant. In other words, you have to possess, you have to take from what was concealed to make it revealed, right? Like bring the car from the dealership. You have to bring this feeling of godliness inside of every Jew and bringing it home, bringing it into revelation. And that's what makes a Jewish person an ivri. An ivri, that's what makes a Jewish person a Jew, an ivri. Ivri means the other side, a Hebrew. It reveals this aspect of the Jew that's from the other side of the river, higher than understanding. And it makes him into a servant of God. So it has to be tikne, that you possess, you draw from concealed to be revealed, this level of ivri that the Jews are on the other side of understanding, pure awareness of God, and that makes them a servant of God. This is a lot easier than if you had to make a new creation. You had to. Afterwards, it says, it says 6 years you should work. Perush al yadam shachat dat, by means of drawing this level of dat, by means of drawing down this awareness of God that's already existent deep inside of every Jew to bring it into revelation, yochel liot bechinat la'avdo, serving God, liot oved elokim, to be a servant of the Creator. There's a tremendous difference in the Tanya, it's explained 15th chapter, tremendous difference between a person who serves God and who does not serve God. Hagam shu tzaddik, even a person that's a total tzaddik, it's a big difference from one who serves God and one who doesn't. Like it's written in the Gemara and it's brought in the Tanya. Okay, so just in general, what does it mean? What does it mean to serve God? So there's a lot of aspects of God. We're talking about serving God. First of all, serving God simply means doing what God says. And one of the things that God says, and one of the things that God wants, is that we should work on ourselves. We have to change ourselves. Right? The world was created imperfect. We brought this example a lot of times. Like you go to a store and you buy a puzzle, right? 100,000 piece puzzle. You take it home and you think you get a big barrel of pieces, a huge big barrel. If you want, these pieces must be pretty big, you know. Now 100,000 is a pretty big number. You take it home, you see it's full of these little tiny pieces. You scatter them on your floor and you see that there's 70 million pieces. It says 100,000. I don't know if it says it's 100,000 pieces, 70 million pieces. You look at the instructions and it says only 100,000 of these pieces are really relevant to the puzzle. The rest are not. You have to figure out which ones they are. Have a good day. That's what the world is. The world is this amazing, amazing puzzle. And it has all of these unnecessary pieces in it that we just have to sort of put to the side. And then we have to take the good and we have to use it. Where is all this found? All this, it's inside of us. It's inside of us. Each person has these bad urges and bad desires and bad nature and selfish impulses, right? and misconceptions that we have, and improper fear and improper love and improper desires and lusts. And these are all the pieces we have to sort of disregard. We have to sort of put them to the side. And then we have proper love and proper fear. And proper fear, don't drive on the wrong side of the street. You're afraid. Why? You're afraid to drive? Proper love, proper fear, proper faith, proper understanding. But we have to use it. We have to, right, to arouse our emotions. The user, that's what's called the servant of God. And even more, it's called Oved Elohim. Elohim is the same numerical value as nature. We have to work on nature. That's why God put man in the world to work. And he says there's sometimes a person can work and sometimes a person doesn't work, because this work is constant every minute. God is creating us, is creating us with either the same problems or different nature, and we have to work. What does it mean to work constantly all the time? So here, let's see. So in it says Yomim Yotzuru. It says that God, you made days. Because see, if Avram Zokin Babi Yomim says Abraham was old and he was arriving in days. He had the days of the year, the days of his life. Be'inin Yomim Elohim means these upper days. Hainu Hayomim Im Levushim. These days are garments which are made for the soul from the Torah and the commandments every day. And if a person misses one day, right, every moment of life is an opportunity, a challenge, an opportunity. If we make use of this opportunity, then we have a garment. If you don't use this opportunity, then you're missing a garment. I know which garments are they? These are garments of God's will. These garments, one of the functions of them is that we can appreciate God, especially after a person dies. It says they are garments for the soul. And this is by means of these garments, which are done from the Torah and the commandments, because Torah and commandments, they come from this world of Atzilut that we talked about, this higher, even higher. Because the Torah and the commandments are very, very high. In some ways, even higher than the soul itself. In the 4th chapter of the Tanya, it says, the commandments, the commandments are what's called the body of the king, mamish. They came down in this world to become garments for the soul. But really, what the commandments are the essence will of God. Since that it's so, but God spread it out. That's why God gives us a long life, right? People could have been born and live for 5 minutes. That's it. You could be born. A person can get, sometimes, listen, there's sometimes people that all that's really outstanding in their lives are 5 minutes, 3 minutes, right? The day they got married, the day something happened, right? And all the rest, they ate, they drank, they slept, this. Okay, that's regular life. So God could have taken away all the time you sleep and you eat and it's just normal things and make your life like, 3 days long and stuff all the good stuff in there. And that's it, because then a person's going to die anyway, right? So how many meaningful things do people really do in their life that are really eternal, that make them different than anyone else, that it's their life? So the Rebbe said it can't be every day, it can't be every moment. So therefore, when every day, that's what time is. Time is all these opportunities, a chain of these opportunities and challenges that God gives us. And when we meet these challenges, so then under the time, shalavushin, that these garments of the soul come from their source, which is above time. And they are put into time in the world, in order that the soul will be able to understand them and to do them, which is not the case as these commandments are in their source above time. The soul can't grasp them. How much more so? The soul is not able to understand godliness without these garments. How much more so the garments themselves you can't understand. In other words, in order to grasp this ray of godliness, you need the garments. The garments are higher than this ray of godliness that you get in the world to come. That's why it says the souls will come back to this world in the raising of the dead, because that's in the merit of the commandments, the physical commandments. So temporarily in this world, a person lives and he dies. When he goes up to heaven, these commandments are garments. But that's just cheap stuff. That's not the main thing. These garments are from the essence of God. And that's only going to be revealed in the raising of the dead. But because the commandments came down into this world to be a garment, umashal, and like an, how do you say, an example, a metaphor of what God really is. Therefore, Yochalon Hasiga, therefore, through these garments, you're able to grasp godliness. Right? It's almost like you go into one of these 3D, these movies they used to have. I remember when I was young, maybe they still have it. They used to have 3D movies, right? You had special glasses you put on, you go and you see the movie, right? Just imagine if you went and you saw through the glasses, you saw the movie. You come out and they say, these glasses that we just have they put on, each pair of these glasses is worth $5 billion. Whoa. In other words, the glasses, they could be used also to see the movie. Who needs the movie? Right? Over five, it's the same thing. The commandments, you can use them to see godliness after you die. But the commandments are infinitely more valuable than anything you can get in the world to come. It's pure godliness. But by means of these garments, you can grasp this ray of godliness. Therefore, it says, but what's the point that Rebbe wants to say is the days of your life, time. Therefore, that's what it says. Abraham was coming in days. Yomim that Abraham used all the days, the time that he had in the world, to grasp them. That's what it means. Nefesh arani tzura b'tzura chaim. That's what it says. The soul of my master was bundled in the bundle of life. What does it mean, bundle in life? It's just like you bundle up, you wrap a stone in a sling. They used to have a sling. Also, they have a slingshot. People have a sling, but there's also a thing. You have there's a slingshot. You pull it and you shoot. But there's also a sling. There's like two long strings of leather, and at the end, in the middle of these two, one long string of leather, one long. In the middle of the string, you double it over, and you put like a little pocket there, a bigger piece of leather, and you can put a stone there, and then you whip it around your head, and you know how to let it go. Sometimes they like tie one of the ends on their finger, they let it go, and the stone can really shoot at long distance. By means of this, you can throw the stone very far. This is also the soul. The soul, the commandments are like the sling. And by means of the soul, by means of the sling of the commandments, you can throw the soul very, very high so that it gets to its source. And that's what it means, the days of time, which are the Torah and the commandments. A person can't say, I'm going to put on tefillin, right? How many days of the year do I put on tefillin? Well, let's say you don't put on tefillin on Shabbos, and on the holidays, we don't put on. Some people do put on the holidays. We don't put on Shabbat and the holidays. So you take, let's say, 52 Shabboses, and how many days of the holidays? You remove that. So you get like 300 days. So I'll put tefillin on 300 times today. And then the rest of the time will be, you can't do that. You have to put the tefillin on only on the day, each day separately. This is the whole idea of 6 years the Jewish servant works. This is the time of the 6,000 years of this world. That all of this time there's going to be Torah and the commandments. That's the idea of Moshe. Moses inspires the Jews to do the commandments and to feel the godliness in the commandments. And this is what fixes up the whole entire world. When the Jews do the commandments, it makes the world into a holy, godly place. And that's why it's so important. That's what it means to work. You'll be a Jewish servant. What are you working on? You're working on the world, working on nature to change it and making it godly. As we'll talk about more, God willing, next time. Have a good day with Mashiach now.